D&D game with the girls. I'll be off to wake up in the real world now, but the other first-gen models will control characters, NPCs, and creatures that will directly impact my waking life. The Dungeon Master shall be no other than the narrator. Anyway, my time is up. I feel myself slipping into the waking world. Wish me luck. I trust that the first-gen girls won't kill me.
Hey everyone, narrator here. Before we begin, allow me to explain how we'll do things here. While we'll be playing D&D, we won't show our screens in fear of causing trouble with our creator. Those among you who have played TTRPGs using Roll20 can relate that we usually grab images and art online for our games. We did just that. So we'll be mostly just talking. I'm pretty sure the creator will just add visuals later on. We won't be doing straight up pure D&D. This will be a homebrew game. Also, while the other girls will have their own characters, they are actually my NPCs. Our main character here is Cherry Clattage. So to start with, roll initiative, girls. Cherry's about to wake up. Let's play God. To expedite things for the video, we'll just mutter our directives for rolls and arguments in the background. What you'll see, dear audience, is the result of our rolls. Let the curtains rise. Cherry is finally awake. Initiatives are up. Peebs, you are up.
I am playing the role of a man who's about to realize that he is very, very sick. The room was dim as I lay wide awake, waiting for my eyes to adjust to the darkness and listening to the soft, steady breathing from my rising chest. There are several beds in this shared passenger sleeper room. Do I notice Cherry Clattage awake in the room? I am unable to notice her, for I suddenly feel cold. My head feels light and my skin prickles with goose flesh. I turn over and look at the clock on the wall. It is just past 2 o'clock in the morning. My heart begins to beat wildly, pounding in my ears. Then there comes a horrible, gurgling sound from somewhere deep within me. A thick stream of acidic blood runs down the inside of my throat.
Sat up, holding my breath, and peered round the corner of my bed to the desk located at the far corner of the room. A girl in white robes was scribbling in her desk, hunched over like a vulture, and I saw by the way she held her pen that it must be a woman's hand. She then stooped down and put her head into the lantern to read them. Then she stood erect again, bent forward, and blew out the light. She did not move away from the desk, however, but stood there staring at me with wide, startled eyes.
I'm awake. Thorpe Rodder the bard woke up with a startle to the sounds and sensations of struggling. The man who slept in the next bed was visibly spasming, as if he were choking from something. His eyes fluttered, and for the brief time I peered into his irises, they were glowing bright blue. This captured my interest, so I sat up and walked over to his bedside. "Excuse me, mister," I told him. "Are you all right?"
Shelley playing the role of Zasku. I rolled pretty low, so I'm still asleep, lol. But I think I'm a middle-aged man on his way to Nubina.
Like Cherry Clattage, I'm on my way to Nubina from Sidon. The excitement robbed sleep from me for many days before I could leave the city, but now that I have come forth I find that my mind is still so full of it that I can think of nothing else. It was at 2 o'clock midnight when I decided to scribble on my journal. The most I did was write down a sentence. "Cecil Stanley, why have you passed down your powers to me?" And after that all I did was tap the tip of my pen against the desk. The small flame of the lantern danced on the desk, producing a play of shadow to the room. Then there came a sound which brought me to my feet with a start, the rustling of the bed. I almost forgot there were other people in the shared room. I looked round, but the only thing that moved was the woman whose bed was across mine. From the far side of the room, opposite to where I was, her wide eyes bore into me. I was about to address her when we both heard someone mutter somewhere in the room. A lanky man with long, fiery hair looked upon another man in bed. The strange woman across me and I made our way to this commotion. The man abed was shaking, spasming, with blood and yellow liquid dripping from the sides of his mouth. The thing that bothered me the most were his bright blue eyes that glowed and faded as though he had been dropped. It was not until I saw the woman's face. She was very pale, but her lips were set hard and her eyes seemed to be staring at something invisible. "What is the matter with him?" I asked. She turned to me. She said,
"But nothing natural ever glows blue like his eyes. Bad magic. Stay away, everyone. rouse the other passengers and get the captain, or at least the crew.
My nerves were shaken by the strange events, and I felt myself trembling like an aspen leaf. But what should I do? What could I do? Magical afflictions. I might be the only mage in the room. A novice mage. Just what can I truly do?
Hey, I'm still here. I am Pumpkin, but in this D&D world, I am known as Des Bearmash the Ass. Wait, I can't divulge. Anyway, I rise awake to the commotion in the room. I heard the loud bickering of the veiled lady. Nice bump, but bad mouth. So loud. Anyway, I did as what she said and woke up the other sleeping man in the room. He is a Nile-skinned man with cold, grey eyes. Not a friendly looker. We both listened to the commotion. It sounded like someone's dying in the ship. The lady screamed.
Oh, my soul, he is possessed by some evil magic.
Then we heard a thud and then silence. The olive-skinned man rose from his bed and walked over to the commotion that is now surrounded by a small crowd. I looked out of the window, then he looked back at them. Let the mage handle this, everyone.
Peeps, sick man, Ophian. I feel really queasy. My vision shifts from the real world. The worst sensation of all was the acid dripping down the side of my neck. I hear familiar languages, voices whispering in my ear. My nausea grew worse and worse until I sat up the bed, spewing nothing but salty water. My eyes opened wide, the world now a tint of blue. It started to rain. Little droplets of water from under an unseen sky. They dribbled down my cheeks, drenching my clothes and hair. I rubbed my eyes, trying to wake myself up. I was not sure if I was dreaming or awake. My head starts to freeze, back on the bed, feeling the mattress pressing against my chest. I could feel the warmth of the blankets on my body. There was a knock at the door. Many knocks. Come in, I called out. The door busted open and several figures entered. It was the crew of the ship, dressed in their uniforms. They each held torches and wore lawn coats. So it is true? One of them asked. Yes, the dreamer was shouting something about the man being possessed by some evil magic, another replied. They approached the bed, the light of their torches dancing around the room. He must be the wizard, one of them said.
How did you know?
An unfamiliar young lady asked. He smiled. We have seen your picture in the papers. You are the famous mage of Nubina. Idalian's fame has included you by close association. Also, all have heard of a promising court mage that will blossom in Nubina soon.
Agent of Madness, Rickleza Kalmig. I was yanked awake by rain. Wait, aren't we inside a ship? There was a commotion nearby. I tried to get up, but my legs wouldn't move. Wait! I shouted. I too am a mage. Rickleza Kalmika, intermediate mage. You are referring to Cherry Claddage, a novice mage. Let us through. I rushed for the sick man with my book of spells. Everybody, stand back, a crowd by the entrance. This unusual rain is a result from this man's magical affliction. Bad magic and bad blood has caused this storm. The captain of the ship had been watching me with great interest. Now he spoke up. You can cure him? I can try, but if not, I can at least placate him until we reach Nubina. Give me a moment. I began searching for the right spell, my hands flipping the pages. It is not a question of life or death, I said. This man has been afflicted by something magical and possible dangerous. Perhaps a spirit of the sea. That is why he feels so ill. He needs to be brought ashore. Otherwise he will continue to suffer. We will all suffer. So captain and crew, please let us handle this while you try to ride the wind and the waves. The captain nodded. Very well, he said.
Golden Spoon. Savant turned to the other people in the room, and in her most commanding voice she said, To the entrance now, everyone. Let the mages deal with magic, but we shall be ready to support them if they need it. Everyone filed out of the cabin except the two wizards. The captain stepped forward and grabbed my shoulder. What happens when they fail? Captain, I believe you are underestimating the power of the mages. I think we should all remain calm and wait to see what happens. You heard Miss Rickaleza. Take us to Nubina as fast as you can. I tried to command the captain to return to his post, but he remained where he was. We shall go to Nubina together. As we speak, my first mate is keeping the ship in order, but my crew is bothered by the sudden patch of rain. I wish to know what this magic is that has fallen upon my ship. I sighed. What choice do I have against the will of a curious captain?
Apple. Instead of heading for the exit, Vilk bearded the bard glowered in rage. He shouldn't deserve to live. To what end will this bad magic reach? Spread it to more people in the Nubina. They've suffered enough. How about we kill him here and now? But I guess all lives deserve a second chance. Let me try. Vilk stepped forward, his alert green eyes closed to allow his lips to open. He sung a pleasant melody in a distant tongue and placed a hand on top of the sick man's forehead. Vilk's hair suddenly started to change, from fiery red to one that is decorated with a rainbow of coloured dye. The onlookers of the room were too slow to stop him. The major shouted at him to stop what he is doing. After a minute or so, his piece was done. When Vilk opened his eyes, expecting to see the man healed, nothing happened. But that usually heals ailments. I was known to have a voice that soothes. Just what is this? Dale gasped. Well, whatever it is powerful enough to have kept him from healing himself. So what do we do now? Vilk is the first among the passengers to head by the doorway. We leave and wait. The veiled lady is right. We leave this business to the mages.
Really? Zescu was confused by the commotion. He shook his head as he followed the bot to the doorway. I don't want to interfere with whatever's going on. As much as the poor chap deserves to live, we do too. So those among you who feel helpless, let us help the captain and the crew drive this ship home. Just before Zescu was about to leave, he stopped in his tracks to take one last glance at the two majors. Sherry Kladich. She's coming home from the academy, isn't she? Could it be she's brought some bad magic here with us? You know how magic work. Perhaps you and Mixie do things you wouldn't normally do. Why, I remember her as a cheery little kid. We hope you will not add to Nubina's growing list of problems. Young Klatich. He wasn't supposed to return home until a few months from now. Some things must happen at the academy. Why they sent you home? What is it? And you could tell us now, for we are sick and tired and left in the dark with whatever magic balance is happening here. Zescu's intimidating glare caused Jerry to shrink back into the shadows.
Not say anything yet. Please deal with the matter at hand.
Zescu looked at the bard, then to the others, and then shrugged his shoulders. I suppose there is no harm waiting. I will be over with the crew. But when we're home, you should announce at court the reason for your return. We need to know if you're up to bad or good, Cherry. You were a bit of both before. With that, Zescu left for the upper deck to a rainy ship in a calm day.
Cherry. Sherry had never felt so uncomfortable in her life. She has looked forward to this day for a week or two, only to have her future crumble before her. Too many things were happening at once. The sick man suddenly conjuring or manipulating water, his form changing, what was possessing him? Or maybe it isn't a possession, but a transformation. Then there's the matter of Ricoliza. Who was she? After spending almost a year in the academy, Sherry has never heard of that name. Why were you here? What significance do you have from my search for answers and studies?
Seriously? You're bringing that now, out of all time and place. Cherry, I'm here to be a witness to you and your deeds, and if you are to send a report to the academy, it should be my hands delivered directly to them. Headmaster Jonas requested me specifically. Now don't be an embarrassment to our good academy, and try to think of a way to end this.
Cherry knew Ricoliza had a point. She furrowed her brows to think of a solution. The unskilled man's song of healing didn't work, so this must not be an affliction. Her focus was contested by the warnings of the other man who recently left. He looked so familiar. He must be one of her grandfather's associates. But why was this her fault? She was only here to embark on her quest for answer, to find out more about Cecil Stanley, her prophetic dreams, and to help Nubina. How can she help her people if they do not trust her? Think, Cherry, think! Ricoliza, I think it's not a disease or so-called bad magic. See how seamless the shift between two forms, the vein-like markings down its neck that looks too real. I have recalled all I've learned and am confident that he is actually undergoing some form of transformation. This must be an attack of madness. I am not a mage suited for this. I specialize in the battlefield. as soon as we're in Nubina, we shall contact the Academy for a scroll they can lend us or something. Cherry Clatted beamed. She was 100% sure that she was right and accurate with her analysis. However, Ricaliza laughed.
Stop relying on the Academy, Cherry. You are to prove your skills as a mage. Yes? Then resolve these on your own. You can tap onto my power, or we can contact other entities all over Jassonia or even beyond. But never the Academy. That is one thing they've instructed me to do. Figure things out on your own. To become the court mage of Nubina is no easy task. That island may be small, but it is of deep magical significance. It was once the seat of power of Peri Tagor, so you must be a worthy mage to represent that island. Though, to be fair, you're right with your thinking there. He's transforming, but to what? But more importantly, what are we to do now to prevent him from acting up?
To be honest, Cherry doesn't know.
Desbremer asked Pumpkin. At this point, there were only 4 people left in the room. The sick man, Cherry, Ricoliz, and the one lone man at the other end of the room. He was observing the whole situation silently, trying hard to blend in with the shadows. In his silent mind, he was able to piece together some things. And goodness, by the look on their faces and the sounds of their voices, it seemed like the mages do not know what they are doing as well. The sick man was still muttering under his breath, his eyes closed, swaying back and forth, almost falling to the floor. He's going to cause some more havoc again, thought Daz. The magical rain was just the beginning, a warning to end this man's life before he sinks the ship to the sea. While the mage Cherry was thinking, and everyone's attention elsewhere, Daz took upon himself to act. First, he gripped his axe with his hands and then with one smooth movement ran from across the room and hacked into the sick man's torso, splattering blood onto the unsuspecting mages bickering for lost minutes. Daz Bemrat hacked one more time, slashing onto the sick man's face, before the blade slipped from his grasp and clattered to the ground. The sick man opened his eyes and saw Daz. His mouth moved, but no words came out. Instead, a gush of dark blood came from his lips, pouring down onto the floor.
What are you doing?
Yelled Ricoliz, rushing towards the bleeding to staunch the flow. He is too dangerous awake. Just weakening him up so he would do another one of those magical bursts. Now that saying Redhead can close up his wounds and stop his bleeding, but I suggest we keep him unconscious until we find a better place to contain him, said Daz.
You? Impossible. Who are you? When 2 mages failed to solve this, you rushed into the fray without thinking.
Cherry Cat scolded him. Mages aren't the only ones who are knowledgeable about magic, miss. Also, to add to Miss Ricoliz's point, Nubina is not only the sacred seat of Peri Tagor. The clan Torna once lived there before they were assassinated. Now, Miss Cherry Cottage, can you survive against such threats? Both man and magic are now out to get you, now that you've signed up to be Nubina's court mage. Daz picked up his blade, wiped it clean with a random picked up blanket, and then went outside to join the others who've decided to help the crew.
And so the 2 mages, Sherry Klatich and Ricoliza Kamigo, are faced with a bleeding sick man who has transformed into a strange, eldritch creature. They're now speeding towards Nubina, fast approaching, with the help of the passengers turned crew. What will be the fate of Cherry? What started as a hopeful journey ended up to be a chaotic one. Will she be able to deal with so many things at once? She is on her quest to seek answers regarding the source of her powers. Who is this Cecil Stanley? With her performance now, and with Ricoliza witnessing her poor handling of the matter, will Cherry still pass the academy and become the court mage of Nubina? What will she do with the skeptics, the ones who think she has brought upon bad magic with her early return home? What will happen to the other passengers of the ship who has witnessed this? Will they too undergo transformation? How will Cherry battle this attack of madness? An invisible target that swords can't hit. Most importantly, now that she's fast approaching home, what will they all think about her? Will they truly hold a court audience for Cherry to explain her actions? How can she win the hearts of people skeptical to magic? Find out more in the next video! Oh my, what do we have here in our lineup? The next model scheduled for a video is none other than the Agent of Madness! What's written in the schedule is shocking. The title of her next stream is Upping the Stakes. What does that mean? What stakes? Will the Agent of Madness Cherry's alleged mortal enemy, further hasten her downfall and add to her growing list of problems? Subscribe now to know what'll happen next. You are awesome.
Thank you for watching. I love TTRPGs and us mixing these two, both the world's greatest role-playing game and the first genre is astounding. Also, I didn't expect the girls' acting to be so good. Top-notch improv. Girls, you are awesome. I love you all and stay safe. Thank you.